perhaps you could start with how you got into singing.
I got into singing by accident, actually, when I was in my late 30s, and I had a whim to sing one morning after my second child had been born, and I took the chance to join a local community choir, very nervous, and walked in there one Wednesday evening, and it was the best thing I'd ever done. It was like coming home. It felt easy and joyful, and I just loved the whole harmony thing. It was about the harmony singing for me, what made it, and people singing together. And I was a total convert from that night, and I joined that choir and attended every Wednesday evening for quite a few years, and that's how I first started singing. And teaching kind of followed from that, because I eventually tried writing some music, and I was given the opportunity to teach my songs in that choir, which was learning on the hoof, really. I had no musical training as such, other than learning to play an instrument as a child, but I had no musical qualifications. So that was a learning process of the teaching, and I was lucky to have that opportunity. And the choir loved the songs that I'd written, so that's how I started teaching in that choir.
So you didn't have your own choir, it was someone else's choir?
That's right. At that point I was using this choir that I had joined as a vehicle for my writing and teaching. And then what happened was, so many songs came forth that it became clear that I had to have my own choir as a vehicle for that. And I started Glorious Chorus for that reason. And I wrote and still write all the music for that choir.
When you say so many songs came forth, what do you mean?
Well, the first song I wrote was called Chanson, and I really had no idea how that song was going to sound. I worked it out on a tape machine, as you did in those days. You'd sing into one little cassette and then play it back and sing into another cassette. Very, very low tech. And I would write out my music on a piece of manuscript paper with a pencil. It would take hours. And then I'd eventually go over it in ink and then make corrections with Tipex, and then go down to the photocopy shop and photocopy it. And it was a very long process. But the choir loved the song, and it became the encore song for Global Harmony, the choir that I was singing with for about a whole season. And then once I realised what made that song work, I could look at all the other music that I'd loved singing in the choir, and I could start to pick it apart and just work out which part of that song is the best part. Why do people love singing that part of the chorus, say? Or what is it about the verses? Is it the chord progressions? Is it the lyrics? Is it the melody line? Is it the span of voices from the highest to the low? Is it the tempo? Is it the rhythm of the song? And I started to analyse it almost scientifically, every song, working out what made that song brilliant or what didn't make that song brilliant. And then I would play around on the piano. I bought myself a second-hand piano. I hadn't played the piano for 27 years. And I just played around with chords and feeling my way and listening to the songs I'd been singing, and using that as a guideline, really, of what would work. And it was trial and error still. I mean, if I wrote the same songs again today, I would probably write them differently. But the choir loved them, and I wrote about 3 songs before I became aware I was taking up a bit of time in the rehearsals with my music. So that's when I started Glorious Chorus.
So you started your own choir?
Yes. Yeah, that was in 2003. It started with 30 people, and it grew to 40 quite quickly. And at the beginning it was a community choir, which meant I did not do auditions. And then after about 3 years I decided to come out of that category and have it as an auditioned choir, because I wanted the standard to be quite high. But I still did other teaching, which was community choir teaching with people of all abilities. So I had a nice variety of singing and teaching, and I have done ever since.
So what kind of teaching is it? How many parts there in your songs
Yeah,
and so forth?
most songs I write are for full choir, which would be traditionally 4 parts. So you'd have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. The men, of course, can sing bass or tenor, which is great. But I also write songs for smaller groups, ensemble songs as I call them. So maybe a quartet or a trio. Sometimes I write songs just for men, so I'd have 4 male parts. I'd have a bass, 2 baritone parts, and a tenor, say. And depending on the choir and who's in the choir, I will write for soloists as well. So if I've got some very good solo singers, I'll write for their voice. So if she's got a soprano voice, I'll write a song where the lead or the improvisation would be in the soprano range, and so on. I wrote a song, an arrangement actually recently of Wild Mountain Time, which is a beautiful Scottish folk song where the lead is actually in the bass part, which is quite unusual. So the bassists get their moment singing the tune, which is quite rare and nice for them.
So do you believe that everybody can sing?
I do. I believe everybody can sing. I think being able to sing in harmony is a different part of the musical ear sometimes for some people. It's not necessarily the case that people who have beautiful singing voices can sing instantly and easily in harmony. And by the same token, people who can sing in harmony may not have dazzling solo voices, but it doesn't matter, because singing in harmony is about blending in and singing as part of a team. And what I find often is that people say they've never sung in harmony before. They sing in the shower, they sing in the car, they sing to their children maybe. And it's a matter of finding their comfort zone in their voice. So they might start singing the wrong pitch, for example, and if we experiment with different ranges, they may find that they're actually happier singing a tenor part rather than a soprano part, but they've never had that opportunity to experiment with their voice, to find where the warmth is and the expression is. So sometimes I move people around and then they find, this feels nice, and they can harmonise better. And people who struggle with harmonies, and you know, it's not instantly easy for everybody to harmonise. Some people it's intuitive and easy. Some people need to be sandwiched in their part and held and supported by their co-part singers. And that's absolutely fine as well. I mean, obviously the more the better and the easier for people who need a bit of support. But I've met very, very few people who can't harmonise. I also teach mothers and babies songs from around the world and lullabies, and I've been doing that for 11 years now. And I must have taught hundreds and hundreds of women with their babies, and most of them I've never sung before. Most of them come in saying they can't sing. And I think in the hundreds of women I've taught, I can count on one hand the number who really struggled with harmony singing. Most of them were absolutely brilliant, and a lot of them came through straight away into my audition choir because they were that good, and they never knew it.
And I imagine for them that's quite something.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's finding a new tool in your toolkit and a new skill. For mothers, it means that they can sing to their babies and their children, and they can introduce singing into their family homes. And for people who join choirs and people who sing with me, they find a whole new community, which is nice. They find a whole group of people who meet and come together each week. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have a lot of laughs as well as the work. It's great.
And I hear that you teach people to sing in lovely places, on camps and abroad and so forth. So what happens there? That's
right. I don't just teach choirs now. I get asked to teach at voice camps. I teach at 2 voice camps each year. One is in Dartmoor, and that's called Rise Up Singing. And there's another big unicorn voice camp which I teach at in Dorset and Wiltshire. And I get asked to teach at festivals as well. I've taught at the Sing for Water, and I'm singing and teaching at this year's Community Choir Festival in Hebden Bridge in July. I get asked to teach on workshops around the country a lot, so I go from everywhere around the country teaching my music. And I also teach at holidays, singing holidays. I've taught at Skiros quite a few times. This year I'm hoping to teach in Tuscany and Paros as well, which are holistic holidays in beautiful settings where people come specifically to sing for a week in a gorgeous place.
Sounds good. So what's great about being a singing teacher?
It really varies according to the group. If I was teaching a more professional group of singers who are trained, who auditioned, for example, the reward would be getting a near perfect sound and the attention to detail and the result and the rewards that brings. Right down to people who are complete beginners who've never sung before in a drop-in choir that I might run, who are quite nervous and anxious about their voices, and hearing them sing each week and get more confidence, and from a starting point of barely being audible, barely making a sound, after a few weeks they're singing with more confidence, and it's like watching a snail come out of its shell. It's beautiful, and that reward is just as powerful for me as hearing trained singers singing very, very beautifully.
And without being too modest, what sort of feedback do you get from them at the end?
Well, I get a lot of feedback from people who've never sung before, which is lovely, saying it's taken them 30, 40 years to sing. They never had the courage, they felt safely held in my group. I gave them the confidence to have a go, very, very gentle and forgiving, if you like, with no judgment. What I like to do if a song is struggling and people are hesitant is I will just take my time bringing them in part by part, and if it doesn't feel comfortable I'll stop and try a different pairing of parts, for example. I might move people around and just do it in a very gentle way. And so to see these people coming out of their shell and getting more confidence and coming back every week is fantastic. The community that we create in singing is very special. There's a big trust thing about singing. So when you're singing in a group, it bonds you in a special way because you feel quite exposed quite often. And when you've all been in a room doing that and dipping your toe in, as it were, and having a go and overcoming that nervousness, it does create a huge satisfaction and a bonding within the group. And a lot of people say that, having sung for the first time, maybe at a workshop or at a camp, they go home and they join a choir. And it was that experience of singing with me that made them do that. And then they have a new hobby and they have an extra thing to do in their social life, a new group of friends. And that's fabulous. A lot of people come back to my camps again and again each year, which is a good sign. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, it's a great thing to do, singing at any age. There's no age limit on singing. I came to singing in my late 30s, and I teach children right up to old age pensioners. And it's lovely watching, for example, in my Tula Mama mother and baby group, a grandma might come with her daughter one day and she'll bring a lullaby that she was sung when she was a little girl decades ago, and she'll sing it into my little recorder, and I'll create the harmonies, and then we'll use that in our repertoire. Quite a few songs have come that way into my Tula Mama group. And at the other end of the spectrum, I taught a big choir up north, the Whole Freedom Chorus, recently, and I had a youth group of singers in that choir who'd never sung before, most of whom have never sung before. And these very nervous teenagers, really overcoming a huge amount of fear and self-consciousness. And they were adorable to teach. That was a real highlight. And just teaching people from all backgrounds, from lawyers and judges to people who are just living in yurts and benders, all coming together, all social classes, all professions, all ages coming together, and they're united by the level playing field of the voice, where we're all exposing ourselves to a degree and laying our souls bare. And it's very emotive singing, and it pulls the heartstrings a lot. You might sing a song that you didn't think would be emotional, and something in it might be a lyric, it might be just a chord progression or a resonance of sound or the vibrations of the harmonies, and something goes on in here that you were not prepared for, that you can't explain, and there's no reason for it often. And you get a lot of tears of joy from singing. People think, oh my goodness, I don't know why I'm crying, but that was beautiful. And that is so healing, and that's the healing power of the voice. And singing in harmony, there's something magical about harmonies, which is more than the sum of its parts when a song is sung in harmony. And it's a vibrational thing. When the third part comes in, something magical happens.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know what it is. Probably Muso would be able to say what it is scientifically.
Or a philosopher, maybe.
Or a philosopher. But it's a fantastic thing to do, and I honestly don't know why everybody doesn't sing all the time. It's therapy. I've never been ill since I started singing. And I put it down to singing.